Friday practice at Mexico is over, and the fastest driver of the day was Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari, as testing tyres and rookie drivers meant practice was a little bit chaotic. But what did we learn? Well, in today's video I'm going to be taking a look at the data and doing a data analysis from practice. If you enjoy the video, then please hit the like button and subscribe for more F1 content. Now, let's get into the video. As usual, I'll be talking about the top teams later on, so please do stick around for that. Yep, practice is over, and it has to be one of the least representative practice days of the year in F1, as FP1 featured rookie drivers and FP2 had Pirelli using the test tyres. But one thing that was for sure is that the high altitude caught out drivers, as Alex Albon had a crash in FP1 as he lost control and hit Oliver Bearman in the Ferrari, and then in FP2, George Russell lost control and hit the wall hard, bringing out red flags. The crash between Albon and Bearman also meant that Charles Leclerc lost plenty of practice time in FP2. Not only this, but now we are getting towards the end of the year, and some of the power units are getting a little bit old, and the altitude with thinner air has been causing more power units to struggle, more so than what we usually do see. But now then, let's take a look at the fastest lap from FP1 and compare it to FP2, so we can see the difference between the two sessions. And what can we see here? Well, what we can see here is that the times are a lot closer than what we usually see. Generally, the times between the two sessions see a lap time improvement of by around a second. However, here it is only 0.3 of a second, and this is because of the tyre test. Carlos Sainz set the lap on prototype tyres. Ferrari's prototype tyres were the 2025 C4 tyres, whereas Russell set his time on the 2024 C5 tyres. This would explain why you can actually see in the medium to high speed corners, Carlos Sainz cannot maintain the same amount of speed as George Russell. He has the harder tyres, which are not going to be optimised on this car. Sainz made all of the time up down the straights, which really goes to show how the teams have turned things up a little bit more for FP2. Apologies that there's not really much else to look at here, but that's the way things were this weekend, with fast times being set on test tyres. What we can at least compare though is the top speeds, and what can we see when we look at the top speeds from each team? Well, what we can see here is that not only were Ferrari faster than Russell down the straight in FP1, but actually Ferrari were incredibly fast altogether, as they were the fastest cars in a straight line, as they were able to reach top speeds of 352 km per hour. There was a very large variation in top speeds, which shows different power unit levels that people are running, and also potentially downforce levels, as the slowest cars in a straight line were both the Saubers and McLaren, who were only able to reach 342 km per hour, a massive 10 km per hour slower than Ferrari. In the midfield then, what teams were looking good? Well, for 2 sessions in a row, Yuki Tsunoda in the V-Carb was able to finish in the top 3, showing that there is signs that RB could be looking very strong this weekend. His teammate Liam Lawson was 10th and just behind Sergio Perez, which is also pretty impressive, given Lawson has never driven here before and this was his first practice session in FP2. Haas were also pretty impressive, and arguably more impressive than RB in FP2. Yes, Tsunoda was 3rd, but that was set on prototype C6 tyres, whereas Kevin Magnussen in the Haas and Nico Hülkenberg set their times on the C4 tyres. With that, Magnussen was 6th. Both of these teams look to be the ones who will be at the front of the midfield this weekend, and it will be exciting to see how they progress. I do think we're going to see both RBs and Haas cars in Q3, and it's going to be very close between them, but I do still think RB will come out on top, at least in qualifying. I just want to say, if you are enjoying the video so far, then I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe for more F1 content. Now though, let's get back to the video and let's talk about Mercedes. For Mercedes, they have chosen to split the upgrades this weekend. Hamilton in the Mercedes is running with all the upgrades, and Russell is running with the old spec car, and until Russell threw it in the wall, he was looking decent. In FP1, Russell was the fastest driver, so there is pace in that Mercedes, at least with the old car. Hamilton in the newer car was definitely lacking pace, and you can see that here when you compare the longer runs of Hamilton to Sainz in the Ferrari. This is a 12-lap stint, and the Ferrari is consistently faster than Mercedes. Before this, there was another 10-lap stint, and it was the same case. Mercedes looked like they were struggling for race pace, but it has to be said this is with the new car, not the old Mercedes. Going into FP3 and qualifying, it will be interesting to see how Mercedes drivers compare between the two different upgrades. For Ferrari then, the good times look like they are continuing as Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari was the fastest driver of the day. Teammate Charles Leclerc finished in 4th place, but Charles did miss all of FP1 and the first part of FP2 due to the team having to repair his car after the incident between Bearman and Albon. But still, Ferrari are looking fast and threatening. Sainz was the fastest, and within just a few laps, Leclerc was able to vault up to that 4th place, showing that they have a great pace in that car, and we have heard that they now feel they have the balance that they did in early 2022, when they were at their most competitive. And when you look at all of the laps of Norris and the two Ferrari cars, in the long runs, Ferrari are looking faster than McLaren, and this could be important. This could be the weekend where we see Ferrari overtake Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship, and potentially where we see Ferrari start to mount a challenge on McLaren for the lead of the Constructors' Championship. For Red Bull, it was a bit of a nightmare day for championship leader Max Verstappen, as the Red Bull has suffered from power unit issues all day. In FP1 he was only able to set a small handful of laps, and then in FP2 Verstappen couldn't set a single time due to continuing issues with that power unit, and if it was an old power unit then that might be okay, but if it was a power unit that they need for the rest of the year, then there is a chance Verstappen will be taking a power unit penalty this weekend in Mexico. The question is how many components will need to be changed. For teammate Sergio Perez, it was an alright day, but his pace has still been lacking compared to where he needs to be. In FP1 he was 10th, and in FP2 he was 9th. With a potential power unit penalty for Verstappen, this is a golden opportunity for Sergio Perez to be the lead driver and help Red Bull get a podium and potentially stay second in the Constructors' Championship. And finally, for McLaren, they do look good. They do look fast, as Oscar Piastri was second, and Lando Norris, who had to sit out FP1, who also has a new floor, was 5th, which is not that bad, but they were both beaten by 1 place by Ferrari as they were 1st and 4th. One great thing for McLaren is potentially Max Verstappen will be taking a brand new power unit and will be starting down the grid. Let's compare then the fastest laps of Piastri to Sainz. It has to be said, Piastri was on a 2025 C5 tyre and Carlos Sainz was on a 2025 C4 tyre. And when you look at these laps, you can see a huge speed difference between the two cars. This immediately tells me that Ferrari had things turned up more than McLaren. Though through the corners, McLaren are definitely faster, but that could just be down to them having the softer tyres, giving them more grip through those medium to high speed corners. This is why I said the fastest times don't really matter right now. McLaren are looking good, and this could now be a good opportunity to close the gap on Max and extend their lead on Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship. So with that in mind then, what are my predictions for qualifying for the Mexican Grand Prix? Well, I think the top midfield team and midfield driver in qualifying for Mexico will probably be Yuki Tsunoda in the VCARB, as VCARB are looking very strong this weekend, kind of like I said they would in my preview and predictions video. But what about the top 5 for qualifying? Well, in P5 I'm going to go for Max Verstappen, P4 will be Oscar Piastri, P3 will be Lando Norris, P2 will be Charles Leclerc, and I'm going to go for a Carlos Sainz pole position in Mexico. Yes, it's a little bit boring and a little bit 2x2, but that's how I think things will be. But the question is, what do you guys think will happen? In the comment section down below, please do let me know. And as always, comment, leave a like, and subscribe for more F1 content. There won't be a video for qualifying for Mexico, and there could be a little bit of a delay to preview and predictions for the Brazilian Grand Prix as well, due to the fact that I am away for the rest of the weekend. But even so, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching.